American Giant makes great clothing, sweatshirts, jeans, and more right here in the U.S. Visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com, code STAPLE20.
Welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel, and on this show we explore the survivor's journey, practitioners making a difference, and the therapeutic treatments and transformational technology that allow the body to heal itself. Witness the inspiration we gain by navigating the human experience with grace, humility, and a healthy dose of mistakes. Because part of being human is being beautifully broken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. It's been a little while since we got to sit down for a solo episode. Oh, do you feel that breath? I tell you what, I have these downloads in which I need to get on the microphone because there's something that bubbles up in me. I imagine this is what a writer experiences when they're delaying a chapter in a book and your heart knows you got to get it out. And so that was that sigh. So hi, I hope everybody is doing amazing. I love doing these solo episodes. I really wanted to talk about time today, and time in the reference or relationship to how we spend it with our 100 years on the planet. You've all heard me say this multiple times, and I just think it's interesting. Many times we'll go about through our day with these silent agreements, giving our time away. So I hear this a lot, and actually this episode was inspired by a woman in the community sauna I was in with last week. And so I had a very limited amount of time in the middle of my day, which I like to go to the gym and I like to push a little weight. I like to push enough weight in which I have to grunt or make a noise or a really extreme face to move it. It does not need to be long. This could be 10 minutes. It could be 25 minutes. And just get a couple of those really high intensity reps. And I have this great deburdening of stress from my body. We would say my allostatic load, my total stress cup is just kind of poured out onto the floor. So after this, somebody canceled a call and I had an extra 30 minutes on my plate. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm going to go in the sauna and I'm going to do a little breath work and I'm going to receive all the benefits of 175 degrees in a sauna. I'm going to release toxicity. I'm going to really earn that deep sweat after my workout. And as I walked to the sauna, I could feel this radiating joy in my body because I knew what was coming. I knew the peace that would be delivered to my energetic field after I allowed myself, because I'm not, right? I've been on this crazy travel schedule. We haven't really talked, but I've been on this crazy travel schedule for almost 45 days. So I'm envisioning it like I'm walking into the pearly gates. And I walk into this beautiful warm cocoon of energy. I sit down, and next to me is a woman parked on a bench, and she's got her cell phone out, and she is looking up a history of her airplane tickets. And she is narrating to the entire sauna how she has been screwed, for lack of a better word, on her flight records, on her miles that were owed to her, on the price she was guaranteed. And she continues to kind of walk through her whole travel nightmare. And there's also a gentleman on the floor, and they're kind of reflecting back and forth. And really, it was a verbal diarrhea of every way that the world had inflicted pain upon her, most notably American Airlines, and what she was going to do to get it back. And I just have to sum it up for, again, this beautiful gift that I got delivered. And I'll get there, was that they had spent hundreds of hours on the phone to get their money back, that they were forced to engage with airline reps and customer service representatives to get their money back from how they were, again, taken advantage of. And, it was just this verbal onslaught. And I'm listening to this and I can feel every cell in my body contracting. The sauna is not fun. It's not heaven. It's not a warm cocoon. I feel myself being able to barely breathe because I'm experiencing a trigger response to people complaining. It's one of the things that I'm just not around anymore because I create a circle community container. Generally, you can complain for a couple minutes and then we move on, right? So I have the 5-minute rule. Yeah, vent about it for 5 minutes, then move on. And so as I'm feeling this and I'm like angry because I was like, this is a public sauna. How are we having an open complaint session? Why am I subject to this? And, I just had this moment where, okay, I can just bottle this up and contain my rage, or is there a way in? And so, with love and light, I said, hey, since we're in this public space and we're having this public conversation, I want to just add some value if you'll allow me to reflect on your situation. And everybody kind of looked at me like stark because I don't know these people, were strangers. And I got a gentle nod. And I said, in my lived experience, what I'm hearing you say is words like forced or made to or had to spend these hundreds of hours on the phone to get your money back. And I just asked her, I was like, how much were the tickets? We came up with a figure. And then I said, how many hours do you really think? She goes, oh, hundreds. We were on the phone weeks and weeks. And my husband was forced. And I was like, there is an equation that comes to my mind, and I'm just spitballing here, that over these hundreds of hours you spent on the phone, if we were to look at the cost of the plane ticket and you were to pay yourself a per hour fee for spending time on the phone, what does that look like? And what does that look like in reference to what you normally make at your job? And furthermore, even to take it one step further, is the value of that time? Did you appropriately pay yourself for spending time with a customer service representative, getting your money back? And I hear this narrative a lot. It's like, I was forced to, I was made to, my hands were tied. My offering to this lovely human being in the sauna is that it's always a choice. We always have a choice. We're never really forced. And I'll go all the way back to Viktor Frankl's, man's quest for meaning. It's widening that gap between stimulus and response. And I just thought this was like, what a great example. It's always a choice how we spend our time. And we have this very, very short, I'll go back, we have this very, very short 100 years on the planet. And how are we going to do that? So I looked up some other fascinating figures of how we make these choices to spend our time. And then I also want to say, I want to own that I had this choice, or this I want to just name the unspoken sense of entitlement that I assumed that I would walk into a community sauna and have silence, right? That's on me. So I was like, oh man, what an interesting thing. You just assume that it's FREDDIE's sauna. It's a public gym with thousands and thousands of members. Why did I make the assumption that it would just be mine to relax and restore in? So I also wanted to own that piece of a little bit of entitlement, right? Because I think it's all and I just walked out of there. I was like, God, thank you for reflecting this and reminding me that we can unconsciously choose how to waste time, maybe not spent on the best value, right? So I'll just look at the per cost hour on the phone. We figured it out. It was like $7 or something like that when we figured out, what her husband had spent. And I just, it's one of those it's deepening our awareness. Because energetically, that doesn't feel fun. Have you ever had to get on the phone and fight for money back? I understand that sometimes you got to do it, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's easier just to spend time on your purpose-driven mission and make 4 times the amount of money and feel good about what you're engaging in. Sometimes it's better just to cut the cord, right? It's going to be a case-by-case basis, but think about how we make those decisions. Back to time, my brain is looping. So I just looked at, according to the latest data set, the average amount of time we spend on social media worldwide, it's set to hit 147 minutes or 2 hours and 27 minutes a day. That's the average in 2022. So in that case, an average person is going to spend a total of more than 3.4 million minutes using social media in their lifetime. That is 6 years and 8 months on social media in their lifetime. Now, that's based on a projection of social media use in 2022. Now, there's two things here. I don't want to label this good or bad. From a marketing aspect, if I know somebody's spending 6 years and 8 months on social media, that's a gold mine. So anybody marketing, you're actually going to get 6 years and 8 months out of somebody's life just because they're on social media platforms. It's fascinating. That's a gold mine. And when we think about this, what's the value of 7? Well, let's just call it 7 years. 7 years in Tibet, 7 years on social media, 7 years of life lost in my phone. Now, that's dramatic to say it's lost, right? There's value there. I have a lot of great engagement on social media. I meet friends, I learn things, right? There's information I download. But generally, I just want to talk about like the apps, right? The Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, the Snapchat, the YouTube. YouTube's a little bit different. I could actually really like YouTube. I don't know. I'd love to hear from the audience. What's your favorite social media platform where you don't feel like your life force is being sucked away? I I have some feelings. I generally spend my time on Instagram, but I do find great value in like all the podcast apps. I say this often, right? Some of the insight to me feeling as vibrant as I do today has been from podcasts. Absolutely. It feels a little different than social media, right? It's almost like an audible book. Anyways, I look at that 7 years and I think about what I went through metastatic cancer. I think about when people get these diagnoses of a quality of life that is coming to an end, late stage MS. I've been talking with a lot of people in this space about MS and the neurological conditions and the overlap of chronic viral infections and Lyme. But we'll have a new operating principle. And so we think about, what if I had 7 years back of robust health? What about somebody who is in a life-altering automobile accident? I had a friend that was just paralyzed because their spine was shattered. And you think about, well, what would be the value of 7 years of robust health? Infinite dollars? Infinite dollars? Okay, I think I made my point. What I want everybody to take from this is how we spend our time. I feel like, God, if I could deepen your awareness and give you an operating principle for how to value our time. I keep saying that we overestimate what we can do in a day. And because our days are so full and there's so much a tornado of energy swirling around the body, it's easy to lose discernment on what we're doing. I want to offer you some actionables. I want to really take this 7 years down and I want everybody to really understand and just own where you're spending your time. And what's the value on the return? If you're running a business and you need to be on social media, it's a little bit of a different story, right? That might be connecting you to people that you want to help or change their lives. And I know for many of us, it's not that way. So I want to propose this idea, and I have just one simple action step for this podcast, is that maybe when you're bored, when you find yourself overwhelmed, when you find yourself in a place of indecision, and you immediately go and open a social media platform, maybe set a timer. And whatever that feels right to you, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and let a buzzer go off. And just grab a pen or a piece of paper and write down why you're choosing to stop. If you did that and then you go back into the social media platform, that's okay because you've made the choice to go back in. But whatever you want to give yourself, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Does anybody feel like they want their time back sometimes? Or let me give you another one. If you're showing up and you're feeling like you never have enough time to do your work, if you're feeling like you want to call in more time, I just came up with 7 years for us all. This is the average. That's the average is 7 years. There's people that double that. So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying have awareness around it. Because there'll be a time when you think of this body, what you're in right now, you'll have a level of functionality and you'll look back and you say, oh my God, can you imagine when I just sort of wasted away on my phone? What was I doing? I wish I had that body back, that 40-year-old body, that 27-year-old body, whatever it is, right? that 66-year-old body, right? A 90-year-old would look back at 66 and they're like, wow, I was like pretty functional back then. That's wild. So again, just deepening our awareness, the power of pause. So set a timer, pull out a pen, and see what this feels like for a couple weeks. I hope this was valuable to you. I love you guys. It's really, right? 7 years on social media. I feel like I just came up with a name for my podcast. I love you so much. Namaste.
Team, thank you for creating a wave of momentum that is driving Season 5 of the Beautifully Broken podcast. My heart thanks you for tuning in. And if you enjoyed today's show, head over to Apple Podcasts and now Spotify. Spotify is new, and you can leave a review. 5 stars if you loved it. And before you go, I have something really important I need to offer. There are 2 ways we can build this relationship. The first is to join my membership program at buymeacoffee.com/FreddieSetGo. You get early access to all the podcasts, bonus episodes, discounted consults, and free webinars covering all the wellness technologies. The second is to support BeautifullyBroken.world. That's right, I have a brand new website and new store, BeautifullyBroken.world. Listed on here are all the wellness tools, supplements, educational courses, and products that I absolutely love. Most of them offer significant discounts by clicking the link or using the code. Please know that they don't cost you anything extra. And at the same time, they do support the podcast through affiliations. What's that? I just got a message from my lawyers, my internet team of lawyers. They wanted me to tell you that the information on this podcast is for educational purposes only. By listening, you agree not to use the information found here as medical advice. Do you agree? Yes, you agree. To treat any medical condition in yourself or others, always consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. Finally, our closing. The world is changing. We need you at your very best. So always take the steps to be upgrading your energy, your mindset, and your heart. Remember, while life is pain, putting the fractured pieces back together is a beautiful process. I love you. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel.
American Giant makes great clothing, sweatshirts, jeans, and more right here in the U.S. Visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com, code STAPLE20.